Jim Carroll, Ralph Baber, psychology takeaway. Need a dose of the real, life's absurd, we know the deal. Did you hear? Don't let it get you down. Turn that frown upside down, 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 upside down. Psychology takeaway.
Hey, psychology takeaway, Ralph.
Yeah, and today we're talking about art. Not Art the crazy person.
No, art as in artistic creations, right?
Right.
Well, what did you think about our intro? That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and that was pretty creative.
Yeah, Alex did that for us, and wow, thanks, Alex.
Hey, you're welcome.
Okay. Now, we've been getting comments on our podcasts, and comments are good. One person said, hey, you're not making a point until you're about halfway through, so we're going to make a point early today.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about the psychology of art.
Okay.
Okay, now you might say, why the psychology of art? Well, psychology is the study of what? Cognition, how we think, affect, how we feel, and behavior. And art and artistic creativity affects all of those things, right?
It does. And, you know, one of the things that people say is, well, the artist seems different.
Mm-hmm.
And we say, well, what do you mean different? Well, they kind of behave differently, they dress differently, they seem indifferent to a lot of social conventions at times. Sometimes they engage in what is politely referred to as experimental behavior with various
Vincent
genders.
Van Gogh would be a good example of somebody who did a lot of that kind of thing, right?
Right.
Okay.
And so one of the things that we know is that artists have a different, actually, brain networks.
Okay. So neural networks and artists are going to be different.
Right. And one of the things that we can say is that there's a default mode in brain operation, DMN.
Mm-hmm.
And for the artist, they take daydreaming, which all of us do,
Mm-hmm.
and they operationalize it. They take their daydreams and they make something out of them.
Okay, or sometimes they could take their night dreams. Now, last week we showed this visual from the APA Monitor on Psychology. Normally there's one good article per month in this.
Right.
This time we had 3 good articles. One on courage and resilience, one on autism that we talked about last week, and then an article on the psychology of artistic creativity.
Right.
Now, I think it could be argued, Ralph, that human beings are perhaps the only organism that engages in artistic creativity, right?
Perhaps the only organism that engages in artistic creativity for no other purpose than the fun of it,
Okay.
than the kind of, I like this and I don't care what other people think
Mm-hmm.
about it or feel about it. I'm having fun doing it.
Okay, well, the bowerbird might fit into that one too. That's the bird that decorates its environment,
Yeah,
but it does it to attract other bowerbirds.
right.
So it's not intrinsic motivation, but extrinsic. They're doing
Yeah.
art for the sake of getting a mate.
I feel like
Right.
human art is very much the same, though.
Say that again,
I
Alex.
think human art is also for those same reasons a lot of times.
It could very well be. And, Jim mentioned Van Gogh and some of the other artists, and they had relationships with their models. And at that time, no, it's not true anymore, but at that time, the model and a prostitute were more or less indistinguishable.
Okay.
So, it was very easy for an artist and a model to fall into a sexual relationship.
Okay.
But that's not true anymore. And one of the things that we know now is we look back and you say, okay, well, today we have modern man.
Yes.
But prior to that, we had Neolithic, i.e. cave men,
Mm-hmm.
and we also had the pre-modern man, Neanderthal, who also decorated caves.
Mm-hmm.
So the history from Neanderthal through modern man of decorating our spaces is pretty much a long-term trend, like
Yeah.
50 odd thousand years or more.
Yeah. So art, what makes us feel something? You can look at art and you can feel good, or you can look at art and feel not so good. How about
Yeah.
Munch's art? The Scream.
Yeah,
I mean, he was definitely trying to say something with that image, but you look at it and it's kind of creepy.
yeah,
And I think as he was trying to explain the Spanish Civil War, he got across the creepiness of that particular campaign.
yeah. And we look at Picasso with Guernica, and
Yeah, can't just
the
makes your
bombing
skin-
and the dead horse, and
Makes your skin crawl.
yeah,
And I think that's
it's
what he
not
wanted.
comfortable.
No, it isn't. So
And-
that's art that is actually making us feel something, right?
Right. And the thing is that a lot of us, in terms of what we have in our own homes, is art that makes us feel good or calm or
Yeah.
we enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in your place, your house, you've got a lot of art. Your wife loves art, but it's pretty calming stuff, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Now, would you say that the reason for that, the calming aspect, is because you two have got a lot going on in your head all the time, and this sort of mellows you out?
I could say that, and in my own not so very grand or likely to become ever famous way, I am by way of being an artist. I've done some prize-winning photography. I've done batik. I've done drawings,
Mm-hmm.
and I look at that and say, yeah, I'm thinking of ways that this particular image might be used more or less all the time.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And so do I want a print of Guernica in my living room?
Probably
No.
not.
No, I don't. I don't want disturbing art around me.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it might make me think.
Yeah, but it might
know.
make you think. But what you've just said is that you want some art that kind of calms you down, makes
Yeah.
you feel.
Makes me feel
Yeah.
relaxed.
Okay, what about the behavioral aspect of art? I guess we can say that behaviorally, it's our brain that reacts to new and different kinds of art. The article in here is kind of interesting. They talk about a chapel in Houston that's got, and there's a picture of it, it's got 13 or 14 walls. So it's kind of a round chapel.
Uh-huh.
And all of the walls are kind of like the walls here in our studio. They're kind of a bluish, maybe a little bit bluish gray. And people just go into this place. There are a couple of benches, and they just sit there. And they get into a really calm, relaxed space. The kind of space that we put up when we put up our meditation videos.
Okay, that's true. And
So
one
the
of
brain
things,
just sort of mellows out.
one of the things, Jim, that we have mentioned in the past is what sometimes was known as prison pink, where inside of prisons the cells were painted a kind of pink color.
That was an experiment, yeah.
And
The idea
it was
being it was going to
designed
cause
to
calming.
calm down the prisoners. And from your report on the end of the experiment, it didn't work very well.
Right.
Now, the thing is that prisoners, maybe we could argue by definition, are abnormal, as opposed to the people who go to the chapel,
Mm-hmm.
who are presumably normal in the values of normal,
Mm-hmm.
and who calm down. So, was there a difference if we painted the prison walls this calming blue? Would it have worked? I don't know.
I don't know. Where I worked, most of the walls were kind of a putrid green. And I think it was because the government of Canada got a good buy on putrid green paint one year.
Yes. And I know that from a couple of apartments I lived in as a young person, where the walls were that industrial vomit green, which people seemed to think was going to be a great color because I guess it didn't show dirt or something.
Well, I can remember one of the places that you stayed, Ralph, had black walls too. And that probably wouldn't, if you think of it as an artistic statement, probably would not contribute to one's mental health really well, would it?
I don't think so. No, there's a story behind that place.
We've heard that story before.
Oh,
Ralph.
okay. I won't tell you that.
That's good.
Anyway, one of the things that we know from the definition of the artist's mind
Mm-hmm.
is that artists tend to have an unusually high set of fine motor coordination
Mm-hmm.
and color perception.
Yeah. At least, the painter type artists would, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And perhaps even like a photographer might
Yeah.
look at something and say, okay, the image is not really great, but the colors are wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So, there are things in the neurological construction of the artist's brain which are a little bit different than for many of us.
Okay. So if you're looking at something and it just doesn't look like a forest, or it doesn't look like a cityscape, or it doesn't look like an ocean, you can still look back and say, I'm enjoying the colors, I'm enjoying the shapes and the forms that this artist is attempting to, get across, right?
Right.
Okay.
Now,
So-
one of the other things, Jim, that I find kind of interesting is the artist often has a high degree of playfulness.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we have sometimes hinted at is that children start out curious and creative and playful.
Yeah. During the first 5 or 6 years of life.
And
then
by
what
the
happens?
time they're 20,
Down
They're-
the tube, right?
they're less curious, they're less creative,
Mm-hmm.
and they're less playful.
Yeah.
And the artist keeps that ability to be playful with images and ideas and so on and
Mhm.
so forth.
Yeah, even if we're just reacting to the artist's playfulness. I look at Andy Warhol's soup can or his pictures of Marilyn, and, I scratch my head a little bit, but it does make me feel kind of good,
Yeah.
to see that, hey, someone's playing with these images that, for me, are just, everyday things. So art in general, as we saw here, and has a significant psychological underpinning. Now, the reason that we're talking about art today, Ralph, is that there's an exhibit downstairs in the Baber Room. And we've talked about the Baber Room before. We had the artist who did the, what was it called? The Asylum.
Yeah.
She was on a few weeks ago. And now we have an artist that's got an installation down there called Sleeping in the Mine.
Right.
Sleeping in the Mine. Now, we've gone through it a couple of times, and it's interesting. There's stuff up on the walls. There are sayings. There's a big thing about fool's gold, and the artist is going to be on a podcast in the not too distant future, talking about her way of creating this stuff and what it actually means, to her. Because to her, it's not just a representation of minds; it's rather a representation of where she lives in New Mexico. So I'm looking forward to having her kind of unpack her psychology of art.
Okay, that will be very interesting because I think the artist always has a different take on what the viewer sees.
I think you're right, Ralph.
Jim Carroll, Ralph Baber, psychology takeaway. You need a dose of the real. Life's absurd. We know the deal. Did you hear? Don't let it get you down. Turn that frown upside down.
Until next time, this is Jim
And Ralph,
and our weird voice there.
saying,
Keep your stick on the ice, because we're all in this together.